Toastmasters in general and Daybreakers in particular is the hip pocket speech. The hip pocket speech is a speech that you have ready to go anywhere, anytime. It's tucked neatly in your hip pocket. Because we had 2 speakers that had to cancel very late last night due to business commitments, our own Hyatt Ives has stepped up to the plate with his hip pocket speech. Hyatt Ives, the hip pocket speech. Hyatt Ives.
How many of you in this room have a hip pocket speech? What is the elements of your hip pocket speech? Why is the speech that you have your hip pocket speech?
It's just the next one in the manual.
Okay, all right. Well, let me define what I consider a hip pocket speech. This is going to be a participatory presentation this morning. To me, the hip pocket speech is one that you have passion about and that can give a message and can also allow you to exercise a variety of Toastmaster skills. The ability to use gestures, to use voice modulation, to use humor, and to be able to do it passionately. Now, I have 2 or 3 hip pocket speeches, but how many of you know what my basic hip pocket speech is?
Parachute.
Parachute, you got it.
Churchill.
Well, that's Churchill too. But to do my Churchill, I sometimes have to have notes. If I want to be quoting him correctly, I will have to have whereas my skydiving hip pocket speech is right out of here. Whatever that means. Okay. So, with that in mind, Linda, do you have a hip pocket speech?
No.
You have it?
Yes.
All right, tell me about what are the elements of your hip pocket speech that make it your hip pocket speech?
I love history. I'm a certified tour guide. I can talk for 5 minutes on Sam Houston or John Marshall Rice or the building of several buildings here in Houston.
Cool. Okay, so there's one element. It's an area that you have expertise in that very few others have expertise in. Therefore, it is something that is going to be of interest to people. How many people have jumped out of airplanes? Okay, right. All right. Now, if I were to ask you to give me a hip pocket speech on jumping out of an airplane, could you do it?
Yes.
Okay. I saw that. What is it about jumping out of airplanes that got you to do that? Yes.
Well, first of all, the decision to do it, reason behind it, the experience I got from that, and the experience are in different phases. There's a big anxiety, tension, fear to get out of the plane. Like, everything in my mind says, don't they ever do this. Yeah. And then the thrill afterwards. Everything is absolutely thrilling after that. Especially
I got my adrenaline flowing because we've both been there, okay? And when I'm giving the speech, I can do that same thing. And I have all those same wonderful, exhilarating feelings. The one, I jumped out of a single wing over the top airplane with fixed wheels and the spar that came down to hold the wing. And I literally stepped out onto a little platform like this and was holding onto the spar, and there was no getting back into the airplane. The only way you're getting down is let go. And the exhilaration was, I was very fortunate that I was able to do that tethered to the airplane. So now apparently, my first and unfortunately my only jump. No, I say unfortunately because you see, that speech is about 25 years old, okay? 26. I'm basing it on the age of my 30-year-old daughter, and she was about yay high. So I'm figuring it's let's say 25 years. And I told the story of jumping out of an airplane for the next 10 years. But then I was able to add a postscript to it. Because how did I jump out of that airplane? I was with an association, I was running a silent auction, I was soliciting donations to the silent auction, and the vice president of a company who happened to be a lady said, I'll give a skydiving lesson. The minute she said that, I knew it was mine because I was running the silent auction. It was simply a matter of what it's going to cost me. Now, fast forward, and that's the start of my story, and I got to go into the whole thing. Fast forward 10 years, she is now president of her own company. Her vice president, another lady, comes to me as president of my company to donate an item to the silent auction for that same association. I said, go back to your president and have her donate another skydiving lesson, which she did. Unfortunately, it went to the live auction and not the silent auction. I had set a budget for myself. Unfortunately, there was a Hyatt Ives in the audience. And with the same enthusiasm that I had had 10 years earlier. And it was simply a matter of what it was going to cost him. And I bid against him, and I went over my budget, and I finally said, I can make this very expensive for him, or let him have the experience that I had 10 years ago, which is what I did. So it became a whole nother story. I mean, that's a whole nother story in itself. So I've got 2 hip pocket speeches in the same hip pocket. It's getting ahead. So the elements that you want to have in a hip pocket speech are that kind of enthusiasm that when you're asked about it, yes, I'll do that. Because you can, and you've got multiple messages from fear, overcoming fear, to the exhilaration of being up there, to the ability to share that with others, and everything in between. So, as you grow in your Toastmastering, and that's not my only hip pocket speech, because there are other situations where you want to be educational, and that's when I'll switch educational and humorous at the same time. I can do that with the Churchill speeches. So, find yourself a speech that you really, really enjoy giving, and hone it, and buff it, and keep it fresh. I haven't given this speech in a couple of years, and this is probably I don't even know how many times I've done it, but I've had just as much excitement doing this morning. What was that? That's a Donna comment that I missed. I'm sure I don't want to hear it.
Watch the video.
Hey, remove my vote for her on the table.